All right. 3, 2, 1. Don't clicky type if you can help it. Okay. 3, 2, 1. This is Wikipedia Weekly, episode 100 for September 9th, 2013. Welcome to another episode of Wikipedia Weekly. I'm your host, Andrew Lee, also known as User Fuzzheado on the English Wikipedia.
I'm James Forrester, James D. Forrester.
I'm Ed, also known as DA17 on the English Wikipedia.
I'm Emily, user Kaylana on the English Wikipedia.
Hi, I'm Monica. I'm Ayarita in Spanish Wikipedia.
So welcome to episode 100 of Wikipedia Weekly. We will talk a little bit later about 100 episodes and what that means, but we have a lot of interesting things to talk about this week. And first off, we want to talk about Wiki Loves Monuments because we're actually 1 week into this project that we talked a little bit about last week. And Lodovic from Europe was quick to point out that we had simplified some things about Wiki Loves Monuments in ways that he wasn't too much in agreement with. So we thought we'd bring some folks that are interested in working in Wiki Loves Monuments. So we have Monica from Panama. So hello, Monica. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi. Hello, everyone.
So tell us a little bit about what you're doing with Wiki Loves Monuments. This is your second year that you're doing it, and you were just at Wikimania, and there's lots of Wiki Loves Monuments activities in Hong Kong. So tell us a little bit about what you're up to with the project now in Panama.
Sure. Well, this year I'm part of the international team that organizes Wiki Loves Monuments, but I organized the contest in my country last year, and also I'm organizing it this year. So it has been like two roles this year because I'm part of the international global team, but as well I'm a local organizer. So it has been fun this year. A lot of work.
Right, and how did it go last year? What kind of participation did you see, and what kind of photos were taken last year?
Well, it was the first year of Panama. Well, it was the first year that went global because in 2011 it was only in Europe. So we thought that because people don't know much about Wikipedia in my country, that we wouldn't have a lot of participation, and we expected like at most 1,000 pictures, but at the end we received more than 2,500, which was very surprising.
Yeah.
It was good, yeah, and we had a lot of good quality pictures in Panama. For the first year, it was quite a success for us.
Oh yeah, definitely. And what kind of activities are you planning for this year with your Wiki Loves Monuments? Are you planning any in-person meetups, or what kind of promotion are you doing?
Yes, basically this year we're focusing on social media and promotion through Facebook and Twitter because our promotion budget is limited. But we have found that people find out about the contest a lot through the social media. So we're focusing this year on this kind of promotion. And it has been good so far. There is an interesting country races statistic. I don't know if you have seen it about the countries globally, and Germany is leading right now the race with more than 13,000 pictures. I can paste you the link so you can see it too.
Wow, they have 13,000 pictures in the first week?
Yes.
Ouch.
Let me paste it so you can see it too.
I have a feeling they were buffering them up just for this week, but that's pretty amazing.
It seems there is some mega uploaders that like people that it's uploading hundreds of pictures at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So last year was Poland, but this year it seems Germany. I just pasted it there.
Right. So we're looking at Germany Wow, Spain is number 2 at 11,000, which is pretty significant. Um, Poland, Ukraine is number 4, and France is. The U.S. is not doing bad considering there's almost no. I don't want to say no organization, but very little organization nationwide. But that's pretty good. U.S. is number 6 at 4,000 images. Armenia is just right behind that.
Armenia.
Armenia, just
I didn't
35.
know I didn't know they had a major Wikipedia community. I knew Azerbaijan was doing like a Kazakhstan style thing, but I didn't know Armenia was. That's really cool.
Yes, small countries are doing very well. For example, Uruguay has more than 1,000 for such a small country, and this is their first year, so they are doing pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Yes.
It's very cool. So, other
Yeah, I
than
noticed that countries that are in the list for the first time are doing quite well. So the
Yeah.
United Kingdom, for example, wasn't in the list last year at all, and they're at 8, which is a good start. 3,134 pictures so far uploaded as of this recording, and there are other countries as well. And it's I know some people have said that, oh, well, Wiki Loves Monuments, it's run its course. This may be the last year we run it properly because we've kind of done everything. But I think that's a really great sign that, there's still a lot more scope to kind of expand Wiki Loves Monuments and roll it out to new countries and new ways of contributing content. So, I mean, it's incredibly exciting and really impressive how much people upload and how much effort you on the organizing committee put together something so fantastic.
Out of curiosity, much was made of Antarctica during the competition for the first time, but there's no images uploaded yet. Do you know when they'll be uploaded or who will be taking any?
I'm sorry, didn't hear the last part.
Antarctica, do you know when the images, or if there will be any images coming from Antarctica? I know they joined, but
Yes, I see that still there are no pictures from them, but yeah, I guess that's a bit tough. I know that it's being coordinated by Wikimedia Chile.
mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, Argentina.
Argentina. Yeah, I was wondering one of those two. Yeah.
Yes, and they're doing great work promoting it, but I guess not too many people has pictures of Antarctica. So if you know someone,
I'm looking at their page, Wiki Loves Monuments Argentina. So it's wikilovesmonuments.com.ar.
yes.
And I don't see
But
anything yet.
they have a special page for Antarctica. Let me just
Oh, is that right?
for you.
Mm-hmm.
They have this blue logo. So nice too. Spaced it. Here. There you go.
.aq. .aq. Nice. All right, that is the first time I've ever typed in the AQ country code. So.
I didn't even know that was a country code until now.
Are you getting anything?
They have a pretty active Twitter feed.
The
Chilean Antarctic Institute supports them, they say.
Oh, that's nice.
Yes.
Great. So, what are most people using for photo taking and uploading? Are they using, just an ordinary camera and then they're going to the laptop and then uploading it, or are they using an app that uploads to Commons directly? Or do you know?
I think the upload wizard directly from the computer is the most popular now.
Mm-hmm.
There is a mobile app, but I'm not sure about the statistics yet. I know that last year even one picture from the uploaded to a mobile was a winning picture in I'm not sure which country, but yes.
Well, that's great. So we'll keep our eye on it, and maybe we'll check in at least another 2 or 3 times as this contest keeps going. but we are now at how many countries over 5,000? We have 3 countries over 5,000 images, and 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 with over 1,000. So that's pretty impressive. Great. Well, good luck on that project. And what we'll do is maybe we'll catch up with you as the project goes deeper and deeper and see where you are and get a status report from you.
Sure, it will be a pleasure to share with you again.
Okay, great. Any other things to add as we stay in touch with your project here?
Sure, just check out the blog of the international website that we are updating it weekly with the latest news of the contest. Also, the statistics are live, so you can follow. I'm going to paste you another link with more detailed statistics and some nice numbers like the uploaders, the uploaders, and the number of files they have. For example, the number one has over 6,000 images already uploaded.
Wow.
Yeah.
So this stats page, which is going to be a mouthful to say on audio, is wikizabitki.pl. wikizabitki.pl/stats. So it's wikizab, B as in boy, Y as in yellow, T as in Tom, letter K, letter I, .pl/stats.
And of course, listener, links to all information related to today's podcast will be provided on the page at the end of the podcast.
I thought you were about to say are impossible to find, so don't even try. But
Also, abandon all hope, ye who enter these URLs.
I'm trying to go to the ordinary Wiki Loves Monuments site. Does it have a link to it? It doesn't really have a link to the stats from the main page. So, but they do have this very groovy infographic that tells you how this whole project works. So, okay. Yeah, so you can also go to wikilovesmonuments.org, and it has all the links to all the different efforts out there. All right, so thanks again, Monica, and hope to check in with you again.
Thank you for inviting me.
Okay.
Nice to meet you.
Good seeing you.
Nice to meet you guys.
Okay.
See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, so in other news, our long-running saga of the Chelsea Manning article. Now, we debated how much to bring this up again in the podcast because I'm sure everyone's heard by now our individual opinions on it. But there have been some developments this week, including some pretty significant op-eds or opinions, whereas last week I think we talked about Sue Gardner's comment in the debate on Wiki. She actually had a whole blog post about this. Phoebe Ayers and Adrian Wadowitz also had posts on this, in addition to a bunch of other newspaper articles that basically said, look how Wikipedia blew this one, whereas before it was all, look how Wikipedia did a great job with this one. So what do you folks think? What did you think of the editorials and how things sit right now? And I should also mention there is an ARBCOM case now. So there is an arbitration case with lots and lots of background material now on this case.
So the first thing I should say is that last time round we were talking about how we were suspicious of the close, and we felt that it was inappropriate in several ways and it misread policy, and that the community hadn't necessarily come to the right decision, and certainly hadn't come to the best decision with regards to its own policy, let alone to common sense and editorial judgment. And that we said that we expected this to go further. And when we mentioned that it might end up at the arbitration committee, we were talking mostly about the people who had ended up closing and reverting the move that had been made. And it turns out that actually that's not the case. The arbitration case is primarily saying that the people who made the move in the original case, a move that, it should be said, in my opinion, is both supported by reality as well as policy as written, are being taken to arbitration for failing to accede to consensus, which is intriguing as an interpretation of how Wikipedia works. I thought we had this thing called Be Bold, but never mind. And it's really, quite dispiriting. Not just, even if this was entirely inside the bubble and that no one outside had ever noticed or heard of this, I would consider this to be really quite a dispiriting and upsetting artifact of our community's processes. As it is, yes, we've got, a large number of, really quite prominent news websites and blogs and thought leaders, for want of a better ghastly term. And yet, even so, people are standing firm and saying, well, we said that it has to be stuck for 30 days, so it's 30 days it's stuck, and things like that. And really, some of us have just kind of put our hands up in the air and kind of pretended that there are other things that we need to focus on and not this.
Yeah. Eddie, what did you think about covering this past week? Where does it sit now? Where do you see things going?
Well, thankfully, I'd have to write the actual article, because it's a bloody mess. With emphasis on the bloody. The arbitration case actually has less comments than I thought it would already so far. Less statements, I mean. But it's interesting in that both sides have solid policy ground to stand on, technically speaking. And they're citing things that support them, but then there's also policy that opposes them, and it's one of those gray area cases that you combine the gray area with how just vitriolic transgender topics can be, and oh dang, you have a gigantic fight everywhere, all over, just puking on all Wikipedia pages.
Puking?
Puking all over. Thought that imagery was pretty apt.
Well, I mean, one of the interesting things about it was, and some of the comments I thought was quite accurate was, does BLP or the rise of BLP over the last few years as being kind of the dominant thing make it too powerful in this sense that seems to be what people are citing as the thing that trumps everything at this point, right? And the BLP was originally meant to protect the individual that is being written about because things that you do in Wikipedia affects this person's life. Now, which is kind of weirdly inverted, is that Manning wants to be known as Chelsea, yet we are using BLPs to kind of freeze dry it in the Bradley Manning mode, which is kind of puzzling. Right?
So I think this is people, interpreting policy to achieve the outcomes they want to see, rather than actually interpreting the policy as the spirit intends.
Right.
It's incredibly clear in BLP policy that the wishes of the subject of the biography of a living person take primacy unless there's really good reasons to justify otherwise. As I say, as the light.
Dun dun dun.
Clearly, the BLP enforcement hit squad just lands on the roof and about to burst in. They cut it down. Anyway,
you look better this way anyway. So.
Where was I? The issue then becomes kind of one of who gets to decide what is the right interpretation of BLP, and that's I think where we're kind of ferrying around back and forth as to whether this is the right way to do it.
Yeah, Emily, any feedback on where things are now?
The trans community, at least on the internet, that isn't like news outlets, is really pissed about this. Some people haven't noticed yet, but with all the news coverage, I don't think there's a lot of people that don't know what's going on. And the trans community has found this a very offensive thing, because a common act of bigotry against trans people is to not call them by their preferred name or their preferred pronouns. So it's seen as indicative of a societal, of continuing societal transphobia, which is saddening and disheartening, especially considering how far LGBT people have come in the past 50 years. It's a little bit indicative of how far we have to go with the rest of the alphabet soup. So, yeah, Tumblr is not a happy place about this.
Yeah, I mean,
from what I've seen.
so where does it rest now? We're still just basically we're kind of a stalemate, and waiting the 30 days is still kind of the dominant position at this point.
Basically,
And
I think we have to wait for ARBCOM.
Yeah, which will take more than 30 days.
Interesting itself, because if they actually accept it, it's going to take forever. But there's still a question of whether they'll actually accept it or not.
I thought they had accepted the case.
No, I lied. I'm sorry. They just okay. I missed the acceptance.
Yep.
I'm trying to find some representative Tumblr posts.
Mm-hmm.
There's not anything that's gone viral particularly, but there's a ton of people posting on Tumblr. And if you do a search for like Tumblr posts, someone, for example, there's someone who just posted today, burn down Wikipedia with a link to Talk Bradley Manning. Yeah.
That's pretty violent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for the
I
insight.
don't have what else do I say? People are pissed enough to want to burn down Wikipedia.
Yeah, well,
it's for itself.
Well, this is one of the more rare impasses. I don't know about rare, but I don't remember anything in the last few years that has gotten this much high profile exposure. I mean, this used to happen a fair amount, in Wikipedia's earlier days, but until recently, this hasn't. I haven't seen this kind of weird stalemate where it seems like the obviously right thing to do is not what the community is doing. I mean, it's a weird thing.
Well, what's interesting is that instead of op-ed contributors and pundits and whatever went from praising Wikipedia to praising news outlets. They just totally flip-flopped. As soon as we moved the page back, it just went from like, Wikipedia is awesome and the news outlets suck, to like, hey, all the news outlets are calling her Chelsea. Wait, what did Wikipedia do? So, oops.
Yeah, it's sad, but we'll keep our eye on this and see how the ARPCOM case goes. And as you said, Eddie, the life cycle of this is probably more than 30 days, so some other things will probably transpire before the ARPCOM does anything that's definitive in this area.
Oh, and it'll flare up probably on over and over until, well, no, not even a preferred result, because if you move it back to Chelsea Manning, there are going to be people angry yet again. So
right. So let's move on to another story, which is a bit more on the lighter side. But I thought this was an interesting story from Ars Technica. For the folks who read technology stuff, Ars Technica is one of the main portals for this. And it was an interesting case where, because there's kind of an arms race going on with choosing passwords for accounts, there was a story about how some of these more complex passwords are now being cracked, mainly because hackers are starting to mine cultural information on Wikipedia. I don't want to say cultural, but like pop culture information on Wikipedia that helps them guess what would normally be really, really hard to guess long phrases, even in Dothraki and crazy, generated languages out there. So there was one that said, and Klingon, yeah, a very famous Wikipedia legacy there. There was one password called "There is no fate but what we make." That's not too hard actually, because that's from what? Terminator. Is that right? But this actually makes a lot of sense, that you actually have hackers maybe going through all the movie articles and looking up juicy quotes and then trying variants on those juicy quotes rather than just a pure dictionary attack. And that's kind of interesting, seeing that Wikipedia, as the sum of all human knowledge, is a great place to look for stuff that would be things that people would base their passwords on. And I don't know whether there is firm proof of this, but this article had some pretty convincing things here that basically said, you know what, they couldn't have done this. Cristanu. Oh, actually, no, they actually quoted someone who knew something firsthand about this. So this brute force attack was combined with a dictionary attack to crack a phrase of that length. because the phrase was contained in this Wikipedia article, it wound up in a word list that allowed this person to crack the phrase in a matter of minutes. So it was actually a security researcher who actually did a whole master's thesis on this and used Wikipedia for that, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, try saying the password that they broke. It's basically random letters combined with a couple apostrophes.
Right.
That includes the word Cthulhu. And it's a fictional phrase from an H.P. Lovecraft short story. Yeah, but because it was in the Wikipedia article, they could copy, paste, or I assume like pull it off the script, and they tried it and they broke it. And our standing actually comments that it would have been impossible to use a brute force attack or even a combined dictionary to crack a phrase of that length. They only got it because it was in that Wikipedia article.
Right. So it's one of those things that you go, that's really cool / interesting. I wouldn't say disturbing, but there's really nothing. What can you do? You can't really do anything. This is human knowledge, and people will use it for whatever means they want to use it for out there.
I mean, open knowledge is great, but it's also one of the perils of it.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So that was an interesting curiosity from Ars Technica. Privacy policy. So there's a new draft of a privacy policy being, I guess, shepherded through with Jeff Brigham, who's the chief legal counsel. James, you know a little bit about this, and tell us about what the status of this is.
So right now, the privacy policy that's in effect, which you can read and is linked to from every page on every wiki in every language, is dates from 2008 and is quite dated and in many ways is quite expansive beyond what we'd actually be comfortable saying. So I'm speaking in a personal capacity rather than talking on behalf of the foundation, obviously, because that would be weird and creepy and totally wrong. And also, I've had nothing to do officially and professionally with the privacy policy, so I can just freelance here. So the privacy policy is currently written says things like the foundation can, do quite a lot of things that we're not actually comfortable with the foundation actually being okay with doing. And the foundation doesn't want all these abilities and has never used them. And so we're writing a much tighter, much clearer, and much more readable version of the privacy policy. So the draft was the kind of process for writing a new draft. Started in about June, and there was a public post, and then, well, you know what happened? A little bit of thing called, Edward Snowden and Prism and all that, which blew up, which suddenly changed this from a, very boring, no one really cares, into something that quite a lot of people have kind of, suddenly kind of switched on and said, hey, what these websites on the internet hold about people is really important. We need to make sure that it's, as limited as possible. So right now, there's a draft of the privacy policy rewrite on Meta, and there are some banners around for you to, weigh in. And the really important thing here is to make sure that as many people have the opportunity to actually say what they think is going on and whether they think there are issues, whether they think there are things that they'd want to do that the privacy policy prevents, or there are things that they're not comfortable that the privacy policy allows. But also a lot of it's about wording and making it clear and understandable. A lot of work has gone into making the privacy policy not written in legalese or complicated English, and yet at the same time being a legally binding privacy policy. There are some cute graphics that show how signpost you through the different sections of the privacy policy. And those initially had some kind of more cutesy language around them, which has since been killed based on feedback on the talk page. If you think cutesy language makes it better, please weigh in on the talk page and they may be resurrected.
So wait, when you say cutie language, it was meant to make what would be otherwise dry legalese more readable for the public, right?
So the pictures are really beautiful little illustrations of Rory, the lion mascot of the legal team. So cute.
He's so cute.
And right now those are unadorned icons, but originally it said, "Hi, I'm Rory, and I'm here to guide you through this complicated mumbo jumbo," or something like that. And people were like, "Oh no, you don't want to say words like that. You should just." And so right now those icons are just unadorned, and they just say just a picture of Rory.
People were not happy about those icons. That surprised me when I was reading through.
So one
it's like people bitching about Wikipedia Adventure.
Yeah.
Anything that seems aimed towards anybody who's not stodgy and old is controversial and people think it's stupid because, again, which this is like my other favorite thing to harp on besides women scientists, is young editors are stigmatized, which is stupid. Um, Obviously, I think so because I'm a young editor. I'm super biased about this, but having cutesy language is not going to make a bunch of 5-year-olds show up and be like, "LOL, pedophiles, come find me." That's not what's going to happen. What's going to happen is that people are going to feel more welcome. People are going to feel less stressed out about legalese and all of that crap. I don't follow commons very particularly, but we see this debate happening over and over and over again. Anytime something is seen as too friendly or too nice or, God forbid, too woman-oriented, everybody gets all pissed off because, oh, the foundation only wants new editors who are women. That has actually been a comment that has been said, which I think was egregiously rude. The foundation wants to attract 13-year-olds. It's like there's a disconnect between between what people think is productive and what's actually productive. Like, look at the vilification of the tea house, which has been actually really helpful in making new editors not suck. It was derided at first as being cutesy and being frilly and girly and useless and Facebooky and social. And yes, it is more feminine. Yes, it is a more social space. Yes, it is a little bit Facebooky. But guess what? Those are the things that actually help make people productive contributors to the encyclopedia, and that is our end goal. So I guess the point of this rant is that cutesy images and cutesy language are not a bad thing and should be embraced by the community in an effort to bring more people on board to what is seen often as a stodgy, boring project. The end.
Thank you, Rush Limbaugh. But
to jump in, to jump in, I would say that quite often what happens is people get kind of into a position where they view that the way that they treat the source or the thing that they're talking about and the way that other people treat the source must be in the same manner, and that if people aren't going to put in the effort, that must be because they're stupid or too young or they don't understand. Whereas actually, the job of privacy policy is not so that anybody with a moderate level of a PhD can read it after 3 hours of sitting down and weighing every word, but that it can quickly and easily be understood by pretty much anyone without having to invest huge amounts of time and energy. And so, of course, the people that are drafting it or reviewing a draft are looking at it through the eyes of a critical appraiser who's got lots of time to review, whereas people who are going to read this not necessarily going to be in that position. And that's not to say that they're stupid or immature or anything like that. It's to say that you give people as many hooks as possible to get the information quickly, easily, and actually have it be understood by as many people as possible. And if that means taking sesquipedalian words and turning them down into nice simple ones, that's not because we think they're stupid, it's because we value their time more than wasting it on understanding, ooh, look at us, aren't we amazing, we can write long words, and actually turn it into understanding the privacy policy, which is the goal of the document.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at what they did in Commons to try to put graphics into the uploading and to make it more accessible, like a hard cartoon, walking you through different license options and everything. I mean, we got to try more of those things. I think trying to rely too much on just pure text in a wiki page is just we've reached the end of that whole
it's
exercise.
not even just young editors. One of the interesting things about the mascot was that from Japanese sites, it was a 9-to-1 increase.
That's right.
When Rory was on the banners, advertising, "Hey, come look at these privacy, this new privacy policy." So I mean, it's also different cultures can see it differently too. It's not just young people.
That's a great point. I mean, the whole, I think in the U.S. has caught up quite a bit lately, but the whole idea of graphic novels and anime and cartoons as serious, in certain cultures, there's no shame in having that be considered literature and real, intense, serious storytelling or art. Versus in the U.S., we still have this kind of stigma around, cartoons and pictures as being less serious. Therefore, we must stick with putting hair in our chest and reading text only, and no pictures and no graphics. It's just kind of silly if you think about that. Yeah, so it's something that they took away, but hopefully it's a lesson for the future that there's a use for these things. So, and for the record, Emily, I don't think you're Rush Limbaugh.
Thank you. I'm like opposite day Rush Limbaugh. I'm like a flaming liberal woman. We're only
So,
ranting.
so if you admit you're Rush Limbaugh, you're just in a different direction.
Yeah, that's basically what we just said.
I'm not no, but I'm like the opposite because generally I'm nice. I don't mostly I don't hate people.
Well, I'm sure Rush Limbaugh's a very nice person.
Oh,
No, he's not. No, he's not.
He called a 29-year-old woman a slut for using birth control. Not a nice person.
Well, it was worth a shot.
So, well, speaking of Wikipedia weekly moments like these, so we have 100 episodes now of Wikipedia Weekly under our belt, and I'm humbled to say that Emily is one of the few people who've probably listened to every single one of them, because I can't even remember what's on some of these episodes. So, what are some of the more memorable things of 99, now 100 episodes of Wikipedia Weekly over the years that you remember, Emily or James?
My favorite moment was
You got really close for a second there. Okay.
My favorite moment, which I like still distinctly remember, was your interview with Adrienne Wadowitz. That was a long time ago. I was but a wee child then, and I like listened to it like while I was doing my chores and cleaning my room. But it made me think about quality content. Because she was talking about her work with featured articles, and her work as an academic, and it made me really consider, why was I wasting my life fighting vandalism when I could be writing quality content? And that's kind of what spurred me to start being a content person instead of just like vandal whacking. So that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, and so Adrienne is now at Occidental College in Los Angeles, where she actually uses Wikipedia in the classroom and hosted a bunch of editathons in the LA area.
And she's doing the FemTechNet Storming Wikipedia course too, or at least she's somewhat involved with that.
Yes, right.
Which is really exciting. They got blasted on Fox News today, so that's how you know they're legit.
Yes, I saw that. It took them a little while to figure that out. Fox did, but they finally.
They still haven't figured it out.
That's true.
They have no idea what the hell this group is trying to do. They just saw feminism in Wikipedia and just lost their shit.
Basically, what they did is saw feminism, Wikipedia, put a talking head on, slammed it. And
right.
I mean, honestly, based on what they said, I don't think they talked to anyone involved in it or who might know anything about it.
Can I quote?
Can you vote?
Okay, just give me a sec. This was 3 days ago. There's some pretty hilarious quotes.
Well, it's basically you put feminism and Wikipedia together and put it in front of Fox News. It's like putting gasoline and a match together.
Okay, this is just too good to not quote. So, they got some reporter with a website called campusreform.org. I'm not really sure what it is, but I assume it's a reasonable sounding front for something crazy. Oh Jesus. Okay. Yes, it is a reasonable sounding front for something totally crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yay. So this lady told Fox News, quote unquote, usually it's a little more subtle than a course, actually to inject liberal bias in what is supposed to be factual articles. It's absurd, because apparently writing articles about women is liberal bias. How the feminist thinking they were seeking would appear is anyone's guess. Oh my god. Oh my god. And then she says, in 1857, Alexander Graham Bell invented the telegram. A woman would have done it first, but she was stuck in the kitchen. They're more concerned with making it politically correct than factually correct. And then, of course, they list all the universities and subtly encourage you to bash them. Awesome! Great reporting there. They talked to someone who was affiliated with the program who said one thing about, like, we're writing articles. And then it was this reporter, like, complaining about feminism. Female reporter complaining about feminism.
I'm surprised Fox News hasn't done a segment on Conservapedia yet, like praising it.
Dude, you're one step with me, because I'm here looking at Conservapedia, looking at the recent changes pages just for giggles, And one of the pages that has a lot of edits today are evolutionists who have had problems with being overweight and or obese. So that
Because being overweight makes you an invalid.
right. And then there's an atheism and obesity page where they've been actively updating that.
Can I just point out that I am an atheist evolutionist who is of average weight and average height? Suck on that, Conservapedia.
I think
So-
I'm a little known fact. I'm pretty sure I'm still banned there until 2014.
No, my ban
I changed a couple of pages.
My ban just
Yeah,
ended.
I changed a couple of pages and got blocked until like January, February 2014, like for 5 years. This is back in like 2000.
You guys actually registered usernames on Conservapedia?
We just vandalized it. I had a sock farm going and everything.
I didn't
They
vandalize
say
it.
there's no problem with younger editors. So anyway, to get back to the question.
Serious point here. There was an RFA that failed because the candidate vandalized Conservapedia, and it was a couple months after my successful RFA, which happened after I had extensively vandalized Conservapedia. And I was
What? Wait. But when you mean vandalize, you mean correct and put factual information in.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I just want to make that clear.
I don't remember what the
Right.
RFA candidate did. Maybe it was replacing everything with poop. I don't know. That would be an improvement.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Sorry.
so back to your question, Andrew.
Yes.
Memorable moments from Wikipedia.
Yes.
A little bit. So I'm going to cheat and actually not talk about a single moment, but a kind of blur of a week, namely episodes 53 through 61
What?
of Wikimania, which were for Wikipedia Weekly, which was at Wikimania 2008 in Alexandria, Egypt.
Right.
We put out the most astonishing number of podcasts. We actually put out more than one podcast per day of the conference.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So disappointed listening to this. I was like, I want to be there.
Yeah, it was an incredible blur. So and you, me, and Liam Wyatt was holed up in this kind of little, cluster of desks in the kind of lobby of the conference venue, and we were kind of desperately rushing around with audio recorders, like, all right, you need to go to this session, not because it's interesting, but because people want to hear what the session was like. So take the recorder and write down little thoughts to yourself as you're going, and so on and so forth. And we had an interview with Sue, an interview with Jimmy. We had that long rambling discussion in the car on the way back,
Right.
the taxi on the way back from, and it was just all rolled together into this like fantastic celebration of Wikimania and of how fun it is to just kind of have an opportunity to talk through Wikipedia issues with someone else in person, or as we're doing right now over Skype, and other video conferencing facilities are available. And the kind of the just how much that we pushed out like that was really fun, and kind of set a watermark that I'm afraid we haven't really met subsequently.
You're right. I completely forgot that was crazy. We had episode 52, which was off to Alexandria, and then we didn't end that whole thing until well after episode 60. Wow. Yeah, and then we had the final episode we recorded in a van racing from Alexandria to Cairo before we had one day of R&R, I think, in Cairo.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
in
that's right.
that hotel where you had a little Wi-Fi sharer between our 2 rooms. Memories.
Yeah, that was cool. And then there was the year before that, which was in Taiwan, which was the first time we'd met Liam or Davey Dweeb in person, right?
Mm-hmm.
They had each gotten scholarships to go, and we had this gigantic podcasting center out of there too, and that was Wikimania 2007. That was quite an operation.
Yeah, because the first episode of Wikipedia Weekly happened after Wikimania 2006. So it was the first Wikimania after in 2007 was the first Wikimania after Wikipedia Weekly got off the ground.
Right, that's true.
Now, obviously, you'd look at our number of episodes, 100, and the fact that we're called Weekly, and think, well, so we've been running for just under 2 years, right? Unfortunately, not just under 2 years, but just under 7. But hey,
So non-linear distribution. So,
It's been weekly for like a month now.
that's right.
That is true.
It's a pretty good streak.
Well, thanks to you, New Blood helping us move it along too. That's been great.
Mhm.
And what was the other one? And then the other one I don't remember. Were you there, James, when we had when Matthias Schindler was on our roundtable, and he had actually gotten locked out of a building, and he had his laptop, and he was standing outdoors in the cold, using the last bits of Wi-Fi that he could grab out of the air. So he was standing outdoors with his laptop doing Wikipedia Weekly, and you could hear like cars go by and everything. It was pretty
I don't
funny.
know whether it just sounds exactly like something Matthias would do if I actually remember it, but no, that's perfect.
Crazy. So yes, so 100 more near term. We are well on our way, and we hope by next week we'll have a blog up again, so that the RSS feed on this can actually feed into whether it's iTunes or whatever program you use to manage podcasts. It'll just automatically be downloaded to your iPhone or Android device, and hopefully we'll get that up next time we talk.
It would be lovely to remove the warning exclamation mark next to Wikipedia Weekly on my iTunes subscriptions of podcasts.
Although I don't think I'll be listening to it anymore. Because that's a little weird.
You listen back to yourself at 2 speed, and then you correct next week.
Right, exactly.
Improvement.
All right. Any other stories from Signpost that we should be aware of this week?
Not so far. We're still gathering information together, and you guys, I don't know if you know, I've got 3 jobs right now, then plus the signpost, so it's a hamstring operation for the next month while that goes on.
Right.
But thankfully, I have people like Emily who can do in the media and stuff, and I don't have to worry quite so much about them often.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I mean, I guess I worry about
Just
Emily.
right in the media this week.
True, but I guess I worry about you, maybe not the other.
You can go have a talk with my boss. Then maybe I'll write in the media.
Wow, I don't know. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll just give him a call and say, "Hey, you should fire Emily so she can write in the media."
Please don't do that.
I think that's a great idea. Helps
Or
me.
You could call my professors and ask them not to make me write papers anymore. That would help too.
Maybe. We'll see. I think this week we might do something on the individual engagement grants. We're not really sure what we're going to get through yet, so.
Oh, that's right. I'm applying for one of those.
There's a deadline in a week or so, is it?
Yeah. It's coming up fast. It's one of those circled in red dates on my calendar.
Is this your youth thing?
It's that, and then I am asking for a grant to expand the pilot program I'm working on this semester at Loyola. More anger about women scientists.
More anger.
Except this is anger about women scientists and dragging other people into my little schemes. Hopefully on a really big scale. It's actually a really cool project. Grant proposal coming to a meta wiki near you sometime soon.
I'd like to see a proposal saying we strive to have more women, twice the anger. So.
Well, the women I'm bringing on board so far aren't as angry as I am. They just like writing about women scientists, so I can just have the anger for everybody and get them all fired up, right. And then we can all write together.
Well, we'll bottle that anger for our podcasters picks because we have something to talk about there. But before we get there, top articles this week. Well, things have changed very quickly. This peaked very quickly, then came back down. But when we snapshotted this, the top 3 articles in Wikipedia, besides main page and the obvious characters, are twerking at 1.2 million articles, 1.2 million accesses. Robin Thicke, Miley Cyrus, and for some reason I don't know why Robin Thicke was looked up more than Miley Cyrus. I thought Miley would have made the top here.
Because he's a lot more disgusting than she is.
Is that right? Is he?
Oh my god! Have you heard the song he wrote?
Yeah, that's true.
It's like an anthem about raping people, which is really horrible.
I wouldn't assume
Miley just showed her ass.
He's a bit on the older side.
What's that?
Yeah, it was kind of super creepy for him to be grinding on a young woman. She just showed her ass. Like, that's a lot less gross than writing a song celebrating rape, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, so twerking. Well, Yeah, Robin Thicke, Miley Cyrus, Lycos still number 4. The mystery of Lycos. Why is Lycos keep popping up here in the 4th spot here? More than Facebook.
Did everyone kind of get linked to it during the Facebook rebranding, sorry, the Yahoo rebranding?
Do you think that was it?
I can only surmise that.
Why would it?
Say that the manually compiled top 25 report omits Lycos.
It omits cat anatomy too.
They've omitted Lycos and Yahoo because they're both getting gigantic page view numbers with no reason at all.
Right.
Well, that's probably another kind of botnet dealio.
That's what they suspected it is. And cat anatomy, of course, is still up there too. For the last year.
You know what we should do? We should rename the article. Anatomy of Felix or something like that. Just then see whether it's actually redirecting or whether people are hitting the page rather than the content.
That's an interesting experiment. You're evil. You're an evil genius, James.
Also known as product manager.
Also known as Wikimedia Foundation employee. So, Breaking Bad still up there. I think that's pretty organic, I suppose. I would think. But
didn't it just premiere or something again?
Yes, it ended finally.
Oh, it ended.
To put it another way, oh thank heavens! For now, it will be gone forever.
wait. So the series is over now, James?
Yeah, it's the final episode of the final series is gone.
Oh, is it?
People will not be talking about it
Right.
endlessly every damn September. I believe.
I'm reading the article to see when it ended.
I think it ended a week ago or 2 weeks ago or something like that.
Right.
But people keep talking about it.
Right.
Can I make a confession?
No.
I've never watched an episode of Breaking Bad.
Neither have I.
Wow, we're all like, well.
James, it doesn't end until the 29th, so we have 3 more weeks.
No, I'm pretty sure it has not ended yet. So I will admit, because this is one of those The Wire / Sopranos thing where if you admit you've never watched it, you get people go, "You've never blah blah blah." So I actually started watching it, and it's good. I don't know why people are going crazy over it. It's good.
Yeah, it's like that and The Walking Dead make people go insane.
Right.
It's like, bring
Right.
back The West Wing.
Battlestar Galactica was a few years ago.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my god, everybody has to see this weird, awesome sci-fi show.
Right. Yeah, Battlestar.
Finish that series.
You haven't finished it
Anyway,
yet?
I do believe we're derailing ourselves.
I do believe you're living under a rock because you haven't finished Battlestar Galactica. But hey,
Emily,
fair enough.
would you
I'll
like
get
to
around
talk
to it.
about? Would you like to talk about your podcaster's pick this week?
By talk, do you mean rant? Because yes, I would be happy to.
Go ahead,
Okay.
Resident Limbo.
I'm pointing my finger at you. Okay, so my podcaster's pick this week is crappy women scientist articles now with 800% more data. So one of the things that I've been recurringly pissed about is when a low quality women scientist article gets a ton of views. And recently, something important happened with Admiral Grace Hopper, who was the woman who basically invented modern computing as we know it. Also, she coined the word bug for its computing meaning. So, pretty ballin' lady. She was fantastic. Her article is C-class at best. She's the founding mother of computing. So I was like, wow, this is totally unacceptable. So I went through the lists of high importance women scientists and had to go barf a little bit somewhere because it was so shockingly awful. But it provides an interesting opportunity for seeing where our problem areas are. I mean, with women scientists, it's everywhere, but theoretically. So what I found is that there were 80 top or high importance women scientist articles that were C-class or below. Yeah, no. Let's see if we recognize some names here. Lisa Meitner, who discovered several elements. Maria Mitchell revolutionized astronomy. Jocelyn Bell Burnell, who also revolutionized astronomy. Florence freaking Nightingale. Yeah, Dorothy
What
Hodgkin.
did, Flo- what
Pardon?
did Florence Nightingale do for astronomy?
Nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure she looked at the stars.
Anyway,
Yeah, the first woman doctor in the U.S., the woman who invented X-ray crystallography, Diane Fossey. You know, there's several Nobel Prize winners on this list. Chen Sheng-Wu won a Nobel Prize. Irene Joliot-Curie won a Nobel Prize. Lisa Meitner should have won a Nobel Prize. Mary Leakey. And the list goes on. Those are just the C-class ones. Let's see, on the start class, Gertrude Elion, uh, Margaret Burbage, Maria Goeppert Meyer. Like this, if this doesn't make you angry, Rosalind Yellow. Come on, Wikipedia. So, okay, yeah. Basically, this just provides even more concrete proof that Wikipedia is we're neglecting our most important women scientist articles. It's not just the coverage gap that we've kind of been focusing on filling, those 1,500 missing articles, that's a big deal. That's a really big deal. Because we're often the only source of quality information on the entire internet about these women. But, as we saw through our efforts to deal with Barbara McClintock and write these GAs on important women scientists, there are articles that are getting viewed sometimes millions of times a year are like indiscriminate collections of badly written facts with no citations. Like, for example, the article on Rosalind Franklin is mostly indiscriminate facts with not a lot of citations, which is totally unacceptable, and that's why it's our next collaboration. That's an advertisement. Please join Wiki Project Women Scientists and write about Rosalind Franklin. Thank you. But Andrew was thinking about applying this. We had a nice conversation on Twitter, I think yesterday, the day before, about applying this with an algorithm to other wiki projects. You should tell us about that so I don't write it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm looking at the Talk Grace Hopper page, so it actually has Grace Hopper in 6 different wiki projects, or this article is of interest to 6. And they are Start Class for Biography Military, Start Class for Military History, Start Class for Computing, which is really surprising. But it's top importance in Wiki Project Computing, but Start Class. So that's a big disconnect, right? So the question was, can we, through a script or something, try to mine, you know, very popular high traffic articles, and not just kind of spike one day, but long term things that get lots of accesses, but are still very low ratings in terms of quality, whether Start or C class, and then pop those into a queue and make these just like very very high priority editing tasks to give to folks. I mean, that's one of the things is as we have 4.2 million articles, we need to start highlighting um, more easy work for folks, or work that's high impact, so that you get that interest level up from folks who are trying to find a way to make change in the community. So I think this would be a really cool idea if we could find the merging of those two things, high traffic and ones that need help. And James, you probably know better than I do how easy or hard this would be to do that. But
Wait, can
probably
I
pretty easy.
can I just point something out real quick?
Mhm.
The average view count for a Wikipedia article, I believe, is 3,000 a month. Most women scientist articles get like 100. Grace Hopper gets 15,000.
wow, that's high. Yeah.
She is up there with the most popular women scientists. So this is unacceptable. Sorry, James.
Yeah, sure. I think that's probably actually quite doable. Says the guy who's not having any intention of doing it himself. So, I mean, those pieces of data are available, right? Relatively easily. It should be not too hard to bring them together. And the trick is not getting the data and getting the view, but actually kind of getting people motivated to say, hey, these articles are important, and using it to drive, community collaboration of the week or whatever. In
Right.
wiki projects where that matters, where they really have a active community like MilHist, I think they'd jump on it and love it and lap it up. I think for some wiki projects are really quite dead, and they may have 200 people who are signed up as members, but they're not actually doing very much as part of the project, and so it may be a bit frustrating at first. But maybe we can shame some wiki projects into getting better at that kind of stuff. Anyway, to jump on, so my podcaster's pick of the week is this great proposal to actually screen scrape, says James, shuddering, a lot of the data out of Commons and potentially put that into some kind of better way of reading it, probably from an API, and then later on into something slightly more formal like Wikidata or something like that. What this will do is allow us to actually kind of cross link images much more and media files much more readily. You'll be able to potentially kind of pull down, show me pictures, in these categories that are used on articles that are C class, something like that. And that could be really interesting. There's really kind of a disconnect between how well we're able to do kind of database things with relation to articles with text, and especially now that we've got Wikidata and getting to be able to join across different databases and make queries that say, hey, show me all articles that are people who are alive on one wiki and dead on another, which is a really good way of finding articles that haven't been updated yet for BLPs. Doing that with images, so show me images used on this article in a different language, for articles that don't currently use an image. That'd be a really great way of starting up that kind of, find an image, use an image kind of thing. Anyway, there's a proposal that we'll put in the links for this week, and I just thought it's kind of interesting to see these kind of, really nebulous kind of, hey, wouldn't that be interesting ideas on the technical side, as well as the really awesome, hey, this is going out live tomorrow, and these kind of technical features, really big infrastructure work that's required to provide what is ultimately something that makes it easier to write great content and reuse great content and help our readers. It's really great to see that proposed by volunteers and by community engineers as well as Wikimedia staff, and it's a great start.
Oh, very cool. I guess my podcaster's pick was what Emily brought up already, but I thought I'd just point out one thing that William Butler, some of the folks might know about, who is the Wikipedian, who writes a blog. He has he contributes to a podcast, or I guess a video cast, called bloggingheads.tv, and I did an interview with him this last week, and it'll come out next week, talking just about a lot of things Wikipedia, including this whole thing about disruption that maybe we can talk about more on one of these episodes one of these days. But it's a whole interview. It's about an hour about Wikipedia. One is about disruption. One was about visual editor. So James, there's nothing new to this podcast's listening audience, but for average folks who don't know much about it, we talk a little bit about the motivation for it and why it's hard and what you folks are doing at the Foundation. And what was the third one? Something about the future of Wikipedia. I can't remember what it was. But if you look on bloggingheads.tv, should be out this week sometime. So, yeah. Eddie, anything you want to add?
Well, my podcaster pick of the week was article creation bots, which there aren't many of them. The most prominent right now is on the Swedish Wikipedia. It's LSJ bot. It just finished creating articles on the world's known animals and insects, and it's almost done with the 50,000 lakes that are in Sweden.
Oh, boy.
The bot is basically has written, I think, something like half their total articles, something like that. It's now the fourth largest Wikipedia, and he's planning to create articles on a whole bunch of plants now too before adding all that information to Wikidata. We actually featured him when the Swedish Wikipedia hit 1 million articles. The signpost, wrote an article. Because basically it led to a whole bunch of protests, especially from the German Wikipedia, because they are not a fan of article creation bots at all.
Right.
An interesting comment on the talk page today of the latest signpost article on it. It parodied Fight Club. The first rule of article creation bots: never build article creation bots. Second rule of article creation bots: if you're going to build articles based on third-party databases, only use the most specific, specialized, up-to-date databases possible, not huge, generalized databases that don't bother to keep their data up to date. From Caldari. It's really interesting. I was going to throw it to you guys. What do you think of article creation bots? Is it a positive move for the thousands of species and things like that can be written by bots as opposed to more complicated, more unique things? Or is it a horrible trend? Should humans be the ones to start articles, whenever they get around to them.
Well, I think that saying that humans aren't creating these articles is a little bit misleading, because I mean humans are writing the formulaic text. So I know a bunch of editors who go around on the English Wikipedia and create articles about like beetles and shit, which is really helpful because we need to have articles on all of these things, all of these species, because even if we don't have a ton of information about them now, it's still a helpful resource, and I'm glad we have that information. But they do it in AutoWiki browser, or they do it where they open up 100 tabs with a bunch of red links and then just copy paste, copy paste, copy paste. Is that so different from writing a bot? No, not really. And I think that used judiciously and maturely, bots can be a huge asset. I think what Rambot did back in the day was awesome. I think there's less of a place for that on English Wikipedia, particularly now, as our coverage gaps get smaller and more specialized and more nuanced. Like, dear God, please nobody write a women scientist article creation bot. No, 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 no. But, creating articles about lakes in Sweden, I think that's helpful, and it takes the pressure off of human contributors to do rote, easy article writing and lets them dig into the stuff that requires nuance and more human intelligence and collaboration. That's my 2 cents.
Well, the flip side of the argument, though, is if the Swedish Wikipedia community, let's say, has 10 editors, they have more than that, but let's just say for the sake of argument, they have 10.
Oh.
And then you add, thousands of articles on lakes. How can those 10 users, or whatever the small user base number is, maintain all of these articles?
Well, I mean, we do have automatic vandalism detection, and if Swedish Wikipedia has that few editors, its reading base is probably also fairly small. I feel like, if a community is large enough to decide that bots are okay, then at least they should think themselves responsible to dealing with it. I mean, if they have a problem with it, I guess they could go through and mass delete them, but I feel like we have the tools to deal with problems like that already. We have Huggle, we have Cluebot, we have all of those things.
Yeah, I mean, I think the question for a population like Swedish speakers or Swedish editors, where there is there's no there's no like infinite growth there, whereas for English language you can see it's a different calculus for that kind of stuff, right? I mean, Rambot was fairly controversial at the time. I don't know, James, were you active during that time or not?
Yeah,
but
and the impact of Rambot was broadly similar to the impact that LSJbot has had on Swedish Wikipedia.
Mhm.
So at the time, I believe we went from, I'm going to have these numbers completely wrong and someone's going to shout at us in comments, but then that's what the point of being a podcaster is for. I think we had something like 45 or 50,000 articles when we started with Rambot, and we ended up adding 35,000 articles. So we went from 40,000, 50,000 to 80,000, 90,000, and there was a hack added that if Rambot was the last person to edit an article, then it wouldn't come back when you did special random, because otherwise one in two
Right.
pages were Rambot edited pages rather than human edited pages, and that was a bit of a pain. But at the time, it also was incredibly successful in increasing the editability of things that people wanted to edit. So a lot of the people who weigh in on this discussion are existing editors who transitioned from being not an editor to being an editor a very long time ago and can't really remember what it was like. But we've got study after study over many, many years in many different cultures finds that starting an article is a lot more difficult for people than just taking an existing article and editing it. And especially if they're new users or they're not yet registered at all and they're just anonymous users, it can be quite intimidating to start an article from scratch. And anything that can lower the energy required by a human to actually make their first edit is a good thing, as long as it doesn't damage the wiki. And I don't think that articles that are low value but factually correct damages the wiki. Now I know in this particular run there are some concerns that the data being used is knowingly out of date and not very useful, and that is concerning and a bit sad. But more generally, we should celebrate, I guess, the idea of making it easier for new users to come along and easier for readers to find something interesting, because it's not like a created article doesn't actually have valuable information that isn't sourced from a database that is correct. And those databases, yes, they exist elsewhere, but Wikipedia is top of the world for top of the World Wide Web for a reason, right? Because people can find it more easily, because they can find it more readily, because they can find what they actually want to look for rather than download 5 gigabytes of data and pull through 5 tables to find what they want to find out.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's great, but yeah, there are concerns, but I don't think they're anything like as big as the concerns of not running the bot and instead not having the users. And I think the reaction of the German wiki, which was to remove Swedish wiki from the list of big Wikipedias on the basis that they didn't value the article count, wasn't a mature or sensible reaction, and is quite seriously disrespectful to the work of the bot creator and the work of the Swedish wiki in encouraging input from new users and existing users alike.
Yeah, I think that's kind of weirdly petty, but but if you look at the German growth, it's really one of the few languages you see that have never had that super spike of a bot.
Right. Well, and it did, the Swedish Wikipedia, it added 40,000 articles over the last 9 days.
Mm-hmm.
A little more than 42,000 actually. And it's going to pass the Germans soon. They only added 2,000 in the same span. And that's despite having something like 5 times the number of edits and 10 times the number of users.
Right.
I mean, so I think they have gone a little too strong on German Wikipedia. That they have different content inclusion guidelines, and that's perfectly fine. But if you're going to hold other wikis up to the same criteria as you may have quite a lonely time of it. So, for example, the German wiki famously doesn't allow articles on relatively insignificant fictional characters or fictional items from fictional universes. So, for example, Maggie Simpson does not have an article of her own.
Mm-hmm.
You could make an argument that the English Wikipedia has article bloat based on artificially expanding articles that should only be one article, list of minor fictional characters in The Simpsons, into a significant article on its own, and that the English Wikipedia should also be delisted from the front page of the German wiki. Well, they're probably not going to do that because it wouldn't make any sense. Where you draw that line is obviously an editorial judgment. I think they erred in this case, and I think in general they should consider bot creation of articles as well. And there's some talk about long-term, wouldn't it be nice to auto-create articles rather than have them as bot articles, have them as kind of auto mini factoid info boxes with no article saying, hey, there's data about this concept, but there isn't an article yet. Would you like to start one with this info box?
Right.
And actually make it much more of a kind of involving thing. But that's some way off. And on the meantime, going with bot created articles seems like a good step.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the growth curves, German and French Wikipedias are the prominent ones. Have never had a bot, super surge. I think Spanish also fits in that category, but pretty much every other language has had a injection, a little stair step as they go up the growth curve, including the Rambot surge that English had back in 2002. I think it's end of 2002. All right. So, any parting shots from folks before we close? You got nothing.
I got all my ranting out. I'm happy now.
Until next time, when you find more women scientists and more neglect and more things to fix.
Yeah, I'm having training sessions with some women here in the next week, so I'm sure I'll have lots to rant about.
Well, we're trying to set up something with the Smithsonian. This is the last week of Dominic's McDevitt Parks' Smithsonian in residence, or Smithsonian Wikipedia in residence stint that he had this summer. So we're going to try to set up one last glam event in Washington, D.C. to kind of round that up. So we'll see how that goes. And if there's nothing else, then we'll see you next week on Wikipedia Weekly. As we go into 3 digits, we're down to 3-digit mode.
And how long to 4 digits?
Well,
Oh
we'll.
God, that's like 18 years. Oh my God.
It may not be 18 years, given our experience of how long
Yeah.
it takes us.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a
I mean,
damn.
at our current rate, it'll be like we'll all be dead.
10 times longer,
It'll
right?
be
So.
75 years, right? So, I think that's
Well, Emily, you're the youngest one here, so you were depending on you to keep the flame going. So.
Oh jeez.
It's all on you.
you may have to bring in some fresh blood,
Yes.
just as the fire.
Fresh meat.
Absolutely.
Emily,
man,
I'm also aware that you're a vampire.
I'm not a vampire. Look, I'm not sparkling. I'm like, see,
You're not in the sunlight. You can't be sure.
there's light. There's light there.
Sunlight.
Look, I have like normal shaped teeth.
Thank you for the very convincing evidence.
All right, so
Can you cite that Wikipedia article?
Apparently, I'm a vampire and Rush Limbaugh. Oh my God, I'm vampire Rush Limbaugh.
Yeah, I should feel bad. Anyway, let's let Andrew sign off, poor guy.
all right, so we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.